Welcome to the Man Cave. My name is Danny J. You're right here on DJB Productions Network. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave us comments. We want to hear from you. As always, share the channel as well. If you're a gamer or you like to look for more content, go to twitch.tv/the Big Vito brand. You can also see the Man Cave right there, along with another big, huge array of content that you're going to really love. Right now, let me bring on my big man, Big V himself, Vito LaGrasso.
What's going on, peeps? I hope everybody's doing good. We are live, baby, live. We're taping this for you on a Sunday night, getting ready for the Monday premiere. Everybody, get yourself some Cokes, some Jack and Cokes, some wine, your popcorn. It's going to be a hot show. Danny, get us going.
That's right. We got a lot of great stuff to talk about today, but the main thing we're talking about today is swinger clubs.
Oh, yeah.
That's
stuff.
Right.
Hot stuff.
Swinger clubs, it's a lifestyle. It's a fun thing. It's a taboo thing. And actually, we're going to talk about that today. I actually DJ'd a swingers party before. This was the first time I ever had something like that going on. I got introduced from my DJ partner. He said, listen, I got a party for you. This is going to be great. It's a swingers party. I hope you love it. Boom, boom, boom. So I said, oh, wow, this is like the first thing. I said, this is going to be great. I need to do research so I can make sure, hey, do I know what's going on? You know, what happens at swingers parties? I can only imagine. So, of course, I did my homework. I watched Zebra Lounge, which was on Cinemax.
You lucky son of a bitch. You got to and watch Zebra Lounge. Man.
I was watching Zebra Lounge. I said, wow, if this party's like this, I'm going to love this party, right? You know what I mean? So I go there, and it's not like a hotel. And it's in what would be, I guess, considered not necessarily a party room or a reception room. So very plain Jane. It's got a bar, right. It's got a dance area, etc. And I go in there, and some people are decorating a little bit. And the guy who's paying us comes over and says, hi, my name is, and he introduces his wife. And he says, yeah, you know, this is, you know, have you ever done this before? I said, no, this is my first one for this. And he said, well, it's a lifestyle. You know, he goes, it's just,
you know, a lot of girls have used that line. I never did this before. It's my first time.
It was. And I was like, so coy. So I was like, so he said, it's really free. It's a lot of fun. People are giving up their inhibitions here. And he said, not for nothing. If you want to join in, have fun. If not, don't worry about it. No big deal. I said, okay, cool. He said, just play some sexy music and that'll get everybody going. I said, all right, you got it. Right. So in the same night, my DJ partner, he sends up a trainee, a guy who's starting with us, and he sends him to this party with me. And the guy shows up, and he said, so what kind of party is this? Is this like a birthday or whatever? I said, no, this is a swingers party. He said, get the fuck out.
You should have, Dan, you should have ribbed him and said it's a gay party and sent them in where all the men were.
Right, exactly.
Welcome to the DJ world.
You know, we have to do them all. You know,
yeah, got to do them all.
So, of course, the people are coming in, and they're coming in very little at a time because I'm there a little bit early. And everybody pretty much is migrating to the bar because I guess they got to get liquored up first before they get into all this stuff and that type of thing. And, you know, what I'm seeing is nothing that looks like the Zebra Lounge. Okay. So I'm talking about these are regular Joes that you see on the street. This might be a crossing guard. This one might bag your groceries at the ShopRite. You know, these are regular people, right? There's no models there. Most of the women I'm seeing there are big women, like football player size women.
Big ladies, yeah.
Big boned women, right?
Oh, yeah.
And all wearing like these little short Mariah Carey dresses that like are getting a little cheeky at the bottom and stuff like that.
Nice, man.
And so, yeah. So, I mean, it's working out, but I'm like, oh, okay. So this is still not looking like Zebra Lounge, okay? I mean, because I pictured that I'm going to be there and I'm going to be DJing, and there's going to be flames like all around me, and there's going to be like girls on either side clawing up my legs. This was not happening at all, right? So
they tricked you. They tricked you.
They totally did. I was like, this looks much better on paper. So the people are in there, and the kid says, well, everybody's around the bar. When's it get started? I said, well, I started like 15 minutes ago. You know, we're playing the music. I said, and I looked over, and this one woman, she must have been easily 5'10" if she wasn't 6 foot tall. So wow. She's a big woman. I mean,
big woman.
She's a big woman, like big bone woman type of thing.
Big bone woman.
And the guy she was with, he couldn't have been any more than 5'4" or 5'5", right? And he's this little non like threatening horseshoe hair shirt buttoned up like a short sleeve button up with his pants over his belly button, and like he's just a big round ball looking dude, and obviously couldn't move at all. He had no waist or anything like that. So he's reaching around his woman, I'm assuming, right? And it's like when you're in 7th grade and you have to do full length arms extension because he couldn't fit around her body, right? And he's kind of like a Muppet. So when he starts dry humping, but his body's going like this, right? So I said, oh, the humping's starting. I said, here's the party. The party's starting to go. And the funny thing was, the average age was around 55 to 65, right? It was an older crowd. So the sexy music that I was playing, they weren't really responding to. And I'm playing stuff. Now, this is years ago. So I'm playing stuff like erotica, Janet Jackson, stuff like that. Very sexy, sultry music. And they're just not responding to it at all. I'm getting requests, actually, for stuff that I would normally play at a wedding. So,
sounds good.
Yeah. So I start playing Dion. I said, all right, let's do a little Wanderer. Let's do a little Chubby Checker. We'll do.
Yeah, I like it, Dan. I like it. I like it.
So we pick it up, and everybody starts going nuts and crazy. They're like, oh, I love it. Then they're dancing, and then I put on the Beatles' Twist and Shout and all kinds of stuff. Put on some, higher and higher, and they're just loving this oldies mix because that's their age group. So that starts going through, and we start getting through. So now people are liquored up. They're dancing around. The kid that's with me says, listen, I got a question. I said, what? He goes, what if you're there with your girl, right? And you're going to go swing with this other couple, and dude's like a good-looking dude, but the woman's like a train wreck. Do you take one for the team, or like what happens? Like, what do you do,
Dan, I'm telling you, ugly women know how to give oral sex the best, and she's bringing something to the table, Dan. All right? Don't discredit this woman. All right? She might be ugly. That's why they say do it with the lights out. Can't see them, but you enjoy the hell out of it.
You were absolutely right. That's exactly what I think was happening. I said, you know what? I don't know what etiquette is, but I said, I'm sure you got to do something. I said, because there were actually a lot of like nice looking women there where they were older, like homely looking guys. You could tell like some of these women were there with guys with money, that type of thing. So they were married more to the money than they were to the guy type of thing. So, obviously it's progressing. About halfway through, about 3-4 people come in, and they look like they're in their 20s. So I said, oh, now we got some young people here. I said, I wasn't thinking about it before, but I said, if these 20-somethings are going to come to me and approach me, maybe I'll partake like the boss said, we'll see what goes on. And the girl comes over, and I said, this is going to be dating us a little bit, but she looked like a young Sheena Easton, this girl.
Sheena E.
Yeah, she was sitting there. She had her short hair, like, just like when she was on Miami Vice with Don Johnson.
Right.
And so she comes over and she says, hi, and she goes, she's looking around. She says, do you DJ a lot of these? And I said, no. I said, this is actually my first one, whatever. She goes, do you have a card? And I said, yeah, here's a card. I give her a card. She goes, can you let me know when you DJ one for young people? She said, because these people are like old as shit in here. I said, oh, I kind of know. Said,
yeah, I mean, for some people, it could be a little bit of a turnoff. But hey, you know what? If you're going into a party like that, these women are experienced. They know what they're doing. They know exactly where your spot is. They know what they're doing. They know how to get you going. The one thing I want to ask you, Dan, being that, you did this in his old party, did they have a smoothie bar so you can get a protein shake so you can refill and get some more protein?
I don't think they did.
They didn't have that. Okay.
I think they might have had Metamucil on tap. But it was that was about more than most you were going to get. Now,
oh man,
of course, once we get everybody drinking and once we get everybody dancing, then I kind of switch the music back over. And instead of going with the sexy music, now I'm just playing club music. Right. So I said, get these people dancing. A lot of the women were dancing. So, and it was like a women's night out almost with some of these people. And
here's a good question. Here's a question, Dan.
Yeah.
Okay? Did they hand out Viagra at this party? Did you notice anybody getting Viagra or Cialis?
I didn't notice it, but it could have been happening. I think back then when this party happened, Viagra was out. I don't think Cialis was out. So this was like, if Viagra was going to be the thing, it was going to be that drug alone. They've been handing out a lot of stuff for all I know. Now, towards the end of the night, now the guy that I'm training, he leaves, and I'm seeing the room start to filter out a little bit because obviously we're in a hotel.
Right.
So, after we get all this partying going and all this drinking going, we're going to retire back to the rooms and get our groove on because that's probably what the end result is.
Probably.
You know what I mean? So towards the end, I'm thinking to myself, well, I got to get paid. I'm over in like maybe a half hour or so. I got to get paid. So I look over, I'm looking around for the people that are paying, right? I'm looking for that couple that introduced themselves in the beginning. I look over, he's over there making out with some girl over there. I look over, I see his wife. She's making out with some girl over there.
Nice.
And yeah, right. And I'm like, well, I don't want to disturb them and be rude. Yeah, I'm sure they're going to remember me. And they did. They did come over right before he left to go upstairs. He made sure he came over. He paid me.
You got a good tip?
I got a good tip. Yeah, I got a good tip.
They offer you? Did they have a buffet or they have like open bar with this?
I want to say they did have an open bar. I didn't partake in the open bar because I was like very far away from the bar, but because I was just kind of like viewing everything that was going on. But when everybody left, including the people that paid me, right, the party was still going on, mind you.
Right.
They were left with maybe a half a dozen of these big linebacker women, and I'm talking like 5'10", 5'9",
nice,
200 pounds. They could play for the Philadelphia Eagles. You know what I mean? Like they were like big women, and they're all dancing. They're having a good time.
Yeah.
Hair was done up like it was 1991. You know what I mean? It was like all done up, and I'm there DJing, and it's just me and them at this point, right? And some of the various staff, and they look over, and one makes eye contact with me. She goes like this. She goes like this to me. I said, honey, they pay me for this. They didn't pay me for this.
Dan, you should have took it up, Dan. It could have been the night of your life.
I was afraid I was going to be a toothpick in what would have been a nasty buffet.
Dan, if they would have got down and serviced the DJ, right?
Right.
I'm telling you, right? 2 or 3 of them, and it would have been, this is a hell of a night. And you got paid.
And I got paid
and laid and paid.
Hindsight is always 20/20.
Dan, it could have been a great night in your life. It could have been in your memoirs for DJ.
You know what I mean? But I left there, and it was just a great thing. So I'm walking out. I'm like, well, it wasn't Zebra Lounge. Okay, I said, well, so I said my first one, I had some laughs about it, but I wasn't thinking, hey, this is going to be some major thing where I'm going to talk about this for the rest of my life type of thing. And I get into the car, and I said, I'm going to go home. And I said, I'm being cheap at this point. And I said, all right, I don't want to take the turnpike home. I want to save the toll money. I said, go without tolls, right, on the GPS. And this was before your phone had GPS.
Right.
So it starts taking me down these roads or whatever. And before you know it, I'm on like a dirt road with no lights. I passed one house, and I'm going. And I come to a clearing, which is a very small clearing. And what happened was the road was cut off, like by construction. Like they broke the road off because they're going to rebuild this bridge or whatever was there, right? So I'm looking at like construction trucks, no lights at all, just my headlights. And I'm like, I don't know where the hell I'm at, right? I should have paid the $3-4 for the turnpike.
You should have been.
You know what I mean? So now I got to back out because it was a single lane road that there was no room for me to like kind of like make it. So I had to back out using.
You know what it was, Dan? Those ladies, the one who called you on the dance floor, she jinxed you on the way home.
I think she did.
They take me. I'm giving you the mojo and the bad juju, and you're not getting home. You're gonna wind up coming back to me. Can you help me get home? And then you would have had to produce dance.
She gave me the Maloiks. That's what happened.
She gave them a look.
Yeah. I'm telling you, it's what happened. You know what I mean? So I sat there. I was like, so I got home, and of course I told my wife everything that happened. And she's laughing, but like I said, I got paid. They never came around again to those parties, but it was my one experience there. And let me tell you something. Like I said, it looks better on paper than it does in your mind.
Being that you did this, okay, here's a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Being that you did this and you're married at the time, right?
Yeah.
Could you have brought your wife to observe? Do you think you could have done that?
At that time of, well, you're saying could have in the sense of I would have been allowed to, but would it have been a beneficial scenario? Probably not. No.
No, definitely not. Right? She would have
Not
cut you off from DJing. That's it. You're done. Sell your equipment. You're
How
home.
much you getting for this?
Okay. How much you getting? I got you.
Because that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. You ask her now, she'll say, I don't care where you DJ it.
Yeah,
You're bringing catch him. Go ahead.
She is so full of crap, your wife, because what are you doing, Dan? Where are you going? Is Vito going to be involved with this? Because you're definitely not going if he's going. And I know the two of you, the Bridgewater boys, back together again. Yeah, it'd be off. Yeah, I'm telling you, the Bridgewater.
You know what I mean? The Bridgewater boys back in session. So you've been a lot of these clubs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been to some of these clubs, and like I was going to go to. I was dating somebody, and we were going to go to a club in Atlantic City called Caligula.
Oh, okay.
All right. And we were all set to go, and I was dating her, and we're getting there to go, and I had the VIP. We were in, and then she tells me, do you really want to do this? And I was like, you don't want to do this, do you? She goes, no. And she did it before, but she was just more into me, and I guess she didn't want to show her versatility at these places, trying to make an impression, be steady.
She didn't want to share. She didn't want to share.
Yeah, she didn't want to share. So I could say like it would have been a good thing, but on the flip side of these things, I know there's proper etiquette. You gotta, observe, and you gotta be polite, and you can't be a pig about things. It's all smooth and cordial, So I mean, I can understand it, in a sense, you don't take your wife certain places, don't take your girl certain places.
I mean, I think you're going if you're going there with people you're not in a relationship with, you're probably going to be a much calmer scenario than if you're with a spouse or a boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever. Because, like you're saying, there are rules, there's ground rules and stuff like that, and both of you have. I mean, it's one thing to say, "Hey, I'm cool with this," but we have rules and let's stick to the rules and stuff like that. But it's another thing to say there's rules, but then say, I'm not really telling you that I'm not cool with this. I'm going along with this. And then when I hit the breaking point, I'm going to tell you, push the brakes, pal. That type of thing. You got I mean, that's the kind of things that can happen. So you got to like really discuss this. Like the guy said, it's a lifestyle. You know what I mean? It's a lifestyle. And
imagine you go to the party, right? You and your wife. You're going for the first time, and you don't know what to expect. You say, okay, don't drift too far. Stay close. Eventually during the night, you're going to go do your thing. But how would you feel if you seeing, you go in the room, and after you finish, and you go and you see your wife, she's getting nailed by 3 guys. You know what I mean? She's got one in the mouth, one in the middle, one in the back door, and she's just getting hammered, and she's liking it. And you're like, what the fuck? Hey, guys, can I have a turn? It's my wife. And the party's over.
And you know what, though? It's funny you say that because I'm watching Zebra Lounge. I go back to that again.
Right.
And in this show, it's a married couple, and the sparks kind of like fizzled a little bit, and they have kids or whatever. And they say, hey, why don't we look into this lifestyle? Maybe it'll spark our romance back, right?
Right.
Now, at one point, they meet this nice couple or whatever, and they're equally as good looking as they are. So they're both attracted to each other, whatever. And they're all hanging out. They're all drinking. And I'm getting into it. I'm like, yeah, this is cool. I said, yeah, good for you, blah, 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 whatever. And then it gets time where it's like time to get down to business, right? And they're in this one scene, and they're in like this big flat where there's like 2 levels. And the one guy's girl takes the husband, and the guy takes the wife, and they're taking them to 2 separate areas of this flat, right? And they're in the same room, and they kind of like the husband and wife kind of like graze hands as they walk by each other. Right. So, okay, we're gonna do this, blah blah blah. And the guy's with the girl, and she's kissing up on him, and blah blah blah, and this and that thing, whatever. But the other guy who's got the wife, he kisses up on her a little bit. Before you know it, boom, she's up against the wall. And I'm thinking to myself, this is not cool. You know what I mean? Like, this just went from like 100 down to 0 in about 3 seconds, right? And I'm thinking to myself, this lifestyle is not for me because that would not happen on my watch. You know what I mean? And I had to think about it. I said, really, it was really cool up until that second. And it's like, that's when reality hits. And that's why, like, when you say, hey, there's got to be rules and etiquette and stuff like that, both parties have to be in on this. And they got to be like, hey, I'm 100% down, because if they're not, you're going to have a lot of psychological problems when you're done.
You know, Dan, I think if I went to a party like that, I mean, being how I am right now, I never was into the 2-on-1 with the chicks and stuff like that. But being that I do like the lesbian scene, right?
Mm-hmm.
I could see me going to a party like that,
Right.
bringing a lady and letting her have her fun with another lady since it's swinger stuff.
Right.
And I would be content watching it and being like a non-participant, or even if I got to
Yeah.
participate, not penetrate, and I'd be there, I'd be good. But if my partner or the person I brought had a good time and she got off and I'd be like, all right, this is cool. I could dig this stuff. And then when I got home, and if she took care of me like a
Yeah.
beat, oh, and then like, hey, it works for you.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
Sure.
I think like, on that note, if a woman gets to be sexual and gets to not be criticized and gets to do her thing,
Right.
I think it would be cool.
Well, you know what the issue is, and what you described is exactly what I think every guy thinks about when they think of swingers club and stuff like that. But I think the problem is, in that scenario you just created, the guy does not feel threatened in any way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He does not feel. Can this woman fall in love with this other woman and then leave him? Sure, but you're not. It's like this. Even if you're not this way, it's still like if another dude's there, and it's like, what if this dude does her better than I do? Now that's a manhood strike that you're like, I'm not willing to get into that fight, because and you could be as good as you could be, but that's always going to be in the back of your mind, depending on who you're with and whatever the case is.
I think it just depends on your mindset going into it, because I think guys, and we've said this on other shows that we had, that like I think guys blow it when it comes to how they approach two women, because they think they have to hit both of them and make it with both of them. But nobody ever takes the cool approach. Like, I'm just gonna sit back. I'm just gonna hit there with my wine, my glass, and sit there and chill. And I'm like, wow, this is so good, man. This is good. If they're both of them, after they're done, they came up and kissed on me, and
Yeah.
And if I, like I said, I didn't have to I didn't have to penetrate, but if I got taken care of, and both of them had a good time with it, I'm freaking king of the night. You know what I mean? Because I didn't pressure nobody, and I think that's where people lose it, because they pressure to get in instead of like being invited in.
Right.
And I think that's where people lose it, especially in a situation like that, Dan. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, but think about it though. That's like you taking your wife and there's some other girl and blah blah blah. But what if you're out there and I don't know, like Johnny the Bull is at the party?
Yeah.
And, now you guys are friends or whatever. Now it's a little bit different story, but Johnny the Bull, obviously another capable dude. He's not going to match up to me or whatever the case is. He's someone that would be stamina wise, someone who could say, all right, that would be competition in a sense. Now, if he's hitting it, now you're like, I don't know, dude. I don't need her thinking about him while she's with me or whatever the case is, that type of thing. Because that's the kind of stuff that was happening in this movie. And I identified it real quick. And I said, you know what? They bring up a very good point with this. It sounds great until shit happens. You know what I mean?
Dan, I don't think like if you like you heard of a lot of guys who are swingers and they share their wives with people, and then both of them are there, and you're sticking it to your wife, and then you're like,
yeah.
I would think after that you look at your wife in a different perspective.
Yeah, you do.
You know what I mean? Because like if you're taking marriage vows, and like I said, if she's with you as being your man, like if she went with another woman, especially at a swinger party, right? And you're thinking about it, say, okay, she's still with me. Yeah, she can have a fun, and they're gonna do things to turn each other on. I'm good with it. But like you said, like if you get into the thing and your wife is sticking it with 3 dudes, and you're like, all right, I ain't competing with that. You know what I mean? And like she's getting it from every end.
Right.
And
That's
then
what I'm saying.
You get home, and then half your knee falls in, and you're like, all right, something went wrong here. So, I mean,
Call 911.
there's some downfalls to it.
There is.
There is
And,
downfalls.
and it's funny when you're saying that. There was an old show called Taxi Cab Confessions, and the guys were in there and they were talking. I think they came from a swingers club or blah, 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 whatever.
Right.
And the guy described exactly what you just said. He said, we went there, we said, oh, whatever. We were drinking a little bit, so we were a little drunk, and we went to this party. Blah, blah. And my wife was kind of apprehensive. I don't know. He goes, I leave her for about 20 minutes or so, 20 minutes to 30 minutes or whatever. I go get her some drinks or whatever. I come back. She's got a guy in the front, a guy in the back, a guy in her mouth, two guys in her hands. And he goes, and I'm sitting there with beers. so he's like, he goes, I guess she went with it. You know what I mean? At that point, it's one of those things, like I said, you got to be cool with it. You know, it's one of the things. I think if you have 100% certainty that your significant other is like, I don't give a fuck what we're doing. You're my man or you're my woman, whatever the case is.
Right.
Then I think you'll be okay. But if you don't have that certainty, you're always going to be thinking about it, which is why I think a lot of people will try and find friends that they could fool around with and go to those things, because they're like, if that person goes with somebody, what the hell do I give a shit about?
So now you bring up a good point. So being that you went to a swingers party,
Yeah.
and the age was 50 and over, at that point, after being, say, married for 20, 25 years, they feel confident enough that, okay, you're not leaving me, go do your thing. So maybe that's why you had that age bracket of people at that party.
I
just
think
answered our own question. We figured it out.
I think, and they're also in the second half of their life, so they're going to want to say, "Hey, we're going to live again. You know, our kids are out. We're done paying bills. Maybe we're retiring soon, whatever the case is." So they're getting ready to live their second life, and they're also trying to do stuff before they die.
Okay, so the moral of this,
Yes.
the moral of this show is, go to a swingers club after you get 25 years. You're over 50. Go try it one time, you know, and see if you still come home. Because
And for God's sake, take care of yourself, because you don't want to show up after 25 years and look like a schnugga. You know what I mean? You want to. You want to be the guy that they want in there. You know what I mean?
I'm telling you. All right, Dan, wrap it up. I think we covered everything.
I think we did. So if you are into this lifestyle, go check it out. Honestly, it's a really cool thing, I think. Like I said, but follow the rules. Make sure who you're going with is fully aware of what's going to happen, and make sure you both are fully aware of each other's limits and boundaries, etc., and you'll have fun. If you don't do that, I think you're going to be doing a lot of problems for yourself.
A lot of problems.
So make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Make sure you hit the notification bell. Leave us some quotes down at the bottom. Tell us if you've been to a swingers party. What are your thoughts on this? I want to hear about it. And go to twitch.tv/The Big Vito Brand. You can check out the show there as well. As much, there's other stuff as well. They got Virtues of Wrestling. They got His and Hers. They get so many different shows on there as well, just like on here. You guys are going to have a lot of fun, a lot of stuff to watch. We're home right now, so this would be the time to check out both channels and get it going on. So for my man, Big V, I am Danny J. Until next time, we'll see you in the man cave.